Anna from Savvy Cat Realty, speaking to you from Porto today. And today's topic is Christmas and New Year traditions in Portugal. But before we start, I'm just going to give you some updates while people join. The first thing I would like to tell you is that although I have been doing the lives on Fridays at 7 p.m., I will be changing that to Wednesdays because, well, it tends to mess up with my weekends and travel plans because I'm constantly going around. So Wednesday is a much better day for me, and hopefully you will still get to catch up with it. And if not, you can always find my lives on our Facebook page video tab and eventually on YouTube because they do get updated there. It just may take a bit longer. So if you are watching this live, always feel free to leave questions and comments. I always try to interact with everyone that is watching. Today I will be talking to you a bit about the foods that we eat, the traditions, the small things, some a bit of my family's experiences, and the weather, and just a bit of the regional things that I know of, because I tried to convince my my agents to join me, but I wasn't so lucky. People don't like to come on lives with me. Anyway, as you can see, I had the flu last week, as you can tell by my lovely voice, but I'm much better now. It was a very intense week, and, well, it's almost gone, but still not fully gone, and it wasn't COVID, because I did get a test. But yes, it's the flu season, but everyone is so worried about COVID now that we keep forgetting there are other things. Anyway, talking about COVID, Portugal did make some new restrictions, and now basically the main difference is that the quick tests are no longer valid, so you need to have the antigen test that needs to be scheduled in a pharmacy, but it's free for Portuguese people. I don't know if it's free for foreigners. I know it's free for residents. So if you're a resident, you can get up to 4 tests per month freely, but you do have to book them. And the pharmacies are kind of heavily booked at the moment, so you should schedule it with some time ahead to make sure you are actually able to do it. These tests need to be done no more than 48 hours ahead of the event or that you want to attend to, or a restaurant or hotel or wherever you are going. The certificates for vaccination are still valid as long as they are not more than 6 months old. Personally, I think that they are not going to fully close things. The numbers are getting up, but the serious cases haven't been that high, also because there is a very high percentage of vaccinations here in Portugal. But as you know, this virus is going to stay with us, so I don't think that Portugal is going to be fully closing or closing further, because the economy can take it, and there's a lot of businesses that are already really struggling, and they wouldn't be able to take it again. It's been terrible for hotel business and restaurant business, and especially bars. It's been horrible for bars. Some of you know, I also used to have a Viking bar that is kind of on hold at the moment because, well, COVID. And I'm really glad I didn't reopen it. Currently, it's just operating as an online store. But I'm really glad I'm only planning to reopen somewhere in the spring next year, because the restrictions for bars have been really, really bad. Most of the small business bars haven't survived. It's been really devastating for that industry. So I do think that things are going to get better, but we're not quite there yet. And we'll see. But I don't think that you should be too worried about the COVID situation when you come to Portugal. You probably should be as worried as any other place. But as I said, the vaccination rate is really high, and I do think that the measures are not super strict, but strict enough. So you are still able to travel and everything, but you do need to have those tests, and I think that makes sense. So, going on today's topic, that is the Christmas and New Year traditions in Portugal. So we are obviously going to start with the Christmas traditions, and the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is obviously Christmas is a family holiday. And Portuguese people are very close to the family relationship. The family relationship is very tight, so it's pretty much sacrilege if you don't pass your Christmas with your family. We have a lot of Christmas traditions. The thing that we are now already seeing is the lights. You will see the streets illuminated in most towns. They spend a lot of money on lights, and it's a big thing, definitely. Especially the big cities, you will see lots and lots of super illuminated streets and big Christmas trees and all of that. And here, if you are used to just doing if you are used to snow in the Christmas, you are not going to get it in Portugal. Portugal, the only place in Portugal that you have snow is in Serra da Estrela, and it does get very crowded in the Christmas time, because if you want snow, that's the only place you can go to. So at the moment, I would say that it's pretty cold, at least for my standards, and Google is telling me that it's about 9 degrees outside. Honestly, it rarely gets below 5, but it feels super cold because the isolation and the heat systems in the houses tend to be rather terrible. So one of the things that most people have, especially in the colder place, is a fireplace. And it's a really nice Christmas thing to just gather around the fireplace and hear the wood crackling and all of that. So that's a very common thing. And in my case, we usually get the wood from our own pinhais, so our own forests. And yes, I've been going over my mother's head because we haven't brought the wood from the village yet, and it's cold in this house. So yes, fireplace is a very nice thing. Another thing that is very big here in Portugal is obviously food, and you get a lot of food in the Christmas. I'm going to talk to you about some of my family traditions and some of more general ones. So when it comes to eating, you basically start eating like 2 days before. On the 23rd, there's the véspera. So, and then on the 24th you have the eve, and then on the 25th you have the day. So there's usually at least 3 days of eating. And one of the usually mandatory things is codfish. And different families in different regions have different codfish traditions. Some do it with cream, some do it with cornbread, some do it with cabbage. There's a bunch of different codfish dishes that are traditional in different locations. And then there is another typical Portuguese thing is that there is always too much food. We always make too much food, so there will always be leftovers. So one of the things that is typical for the 26th is what we call roupa velha, that basically translates to old clothes, which is basically revamping the codfish leftovers. So that's a very typical thing here in Portugal too. On the Christmas day, another thing that it varies by location, but usually it's one of three dishes. It's either sheep or turkey or octopus in most cases. Of course, I'm sure some families have some variations, but it's usually these three. Usually in inland mountain is the sheep, and more coastal locations is often the octopus, and then in the turkey is generally very popular with the filling, like the Americans have on Thanksgiving. We actually tend to have it in Christmas, the Christmas turkey. So my family is kind of spread out across Portugal, and we do. Well, when I was little, I used to spend Christmas in Caldas de Rainha, because my great-grandfather is from Caldas de Rainha, and he had this huge house that had like 15 bedrooms, so everyone would fit there. And the family from, because my great-uncle, his son, is living in Brazil, and his family is there too, and everyone would come over and gather at that time, and I don't know, there was like 30 of us. And it was a huge thing. We spent the whole week there. That's another thing, but usually between Christmas and New Year you can't get anything done. Just forget about it. You can't get anything done in Portugal between Christmas and New Year unless it's shopping. If it's shopping, you can get it done. The retail part does work, but if it's services, forget about it. It's not going to happen. Actually, we are going to be doing a general vacation, so we are going to be closed out on the between Christmas and New Year too, and just going to enjoy the holidays ourselves. But as I was saying, when I was little, I used to spend Christmas in Caldas de Rainha, and it was this huge event with all the family. And one of the things that always happened is that the ladies would spend the whole day in the kitchen, and you do not want to get into that kitchen. They were just kind of fighting each other over the dishes each one was making and so on. It's kind of fun, but you don't want to, like I said, you don't want to put the spoon there. So, my role, it was usually desserts. Me and my mom were kind of the dessert specialists, and I still do that. Like, me and my mom spend like a whole day in the kitchen doing desserts for Christmas, and my family has quite a few typical Christmas desserts. The more generalized ones that we call rabanadas, it's actually usually my aunt who does them. And then we have what we call the Christmas log, that in most cases is a soft cake rolled that we call torta, and then covered in chocolate and shaped like a log. But in my family, it is typically made from chestnuts. So it's made with a chestnut paste and then filled with sweet eggs of smolch and covered in chocolate. So that's one of our typical Christmas desserts. We always do that every Christmas, and it takes a long time to do. we do it fully by hand from the start. And then we also have a Christmas pudding that also takes a long time to do. It has a bit of orange, and it has a special sauce, a sweet sauce. I don't know how to call it. We call it calda. So that's our Christmas pudding, and it's kind of funny because it's really, really easy for that particular cake to, we call it encruar. So instead of being soft, be kind of wet, and it's not supposed to. So it's very easy for that to happen. So it's kind of a tradition for us to see whether or not the pudim Natal is going to be encruado. I don't know, I think it's good like 1 out of 5 times. So it's kind of funny to just see how that goes. And because my uncle has a farm with a lot of chickens, usually the Christmas we don't have that much eggs, but especially in Easter it's crazy. It's like the egg production season. But because of that, we end up having to spend the eggs, which is a terrible problem, obviously. So we ended up doing a lot of things with eggs, and we would do all kinds of sweets with eggs. There's a bunch of them I can name. There's one called Island that is made with egg whites, like a souffle, and then covered with ovos moles, so egg yolks. And then there is what we call fatias de China, that is basically like rabanadas but with an egg cream instead of the typical just sugar sauce. Then there is there's one with pumpkin that I can't remember the name of them. But there's a sweet with pumpkin that is like sonhos. It's not sonhos. Sonhos is not in pumpkin. That's similar to sonhos. Sonhos is dreams, and it's also made with egg whites and then fried. So yeah, Portuguese people really like sweets. It's kind of a problem. And then my mother is the queen of pão de ló. Pão de ló is also a cake made with eggs. And it's funny because she hates to make it with store-bought eggs. It always has to be with my uncle's eggs, because otherwise it won't be yellow enough. So yeah, that is fun. And yeah, it's basically a whole day in the kitchen doing all of this stuff. And then, well, at least in my family, we usually open the gifts at midnight. I think most people do. And at midnight there is, I don't know if it's a midnight or 11:30, there's a typical Christmas mass that is called the Rooster Mass, Missa do Galo. So that is always done on at midnight. I don't know if it starts at midnight or if it ends at midnight, but it's typical here too. And apparently in Lisbon they do it fully synced, but I actually don't really go to the mass that much. My family sometimes goes, but I'm not a very practicing Christian. And what I've been over food and lights. Oh, the Christmas tree. Of course we have to talk about the Christmas tree. So the Christmas tree is a very, very big tradition, and many people use the plastic ones, but there are some fun things here happening too. Apparently this year there's something called the Árvore do Bombeiro, that is basically trees took from forests that are trees that need to be cleaned. I think it's something like that. And then you can have them in your house. And of course you pay a fee to the firefighters, so bombeiros is firefighters. And then you return it at the end of Christmas and it gets replanted in a better place. So basically you are both helping the firefighters and you have a natural tree in your home. So that's one of the interesting things that they are doing this year here in Portugal with trees. It's typical that most people start putting up the tree in December. Since my birthday is on the 29th, everyone in my house is forbidden to put the tree up before my birthday, so it's going to be up somewhere this week. But lots of people start sooner. I actually really don't like that there's already a bunch of Christmas stuff going around in my birthday, because, well, it's still a month away, but I guess that's the general thing everywhere. But yeah, I think most lights were turned on something like the 20th to 25th of November, something like that. So it starts pretty early. And it's really nice to just go out in the streets and see all the lights, and people just usually go take photos, and it's a bit to attract people to the streets and promote small business and shopping outside, I guess. So it's nice in that way. Some families also do the events in hotels or restaurants. Many people order takeaway not to have to cook, but I do think that the majority of the traditional families like to do everything themselves, and then they have these little small traditions like the dishes and desserts and all of that. That I'm sure each family has their own thing I guess I'm going to be going a bit more into New Year's now. So usually, like I said, people kind of just camp for the whole week from Christmas to New Year, and the things that are working are mostly the retail businesses because, well, it's a spending time, as you know. But other than that, you don't really get that much done, and it's just eating a lot. It's very not good for diets, most definitely. So then comes the new year, and the new year, it's for me typically is more of a friends party, with alcohol and everything. But when I was younger, of course, I would pass it with the family. And I don't think there's any particular thing that you typically eat on the new year. One of the things with my family is that you have to be wearing a new piece of underwear on the New Year's Eve, and there's some color things about it. I think my mother always tells me it has to be red, but I don't remember exactly why. And there's some colors that you shouldn't wear, but I also don't know why. So there's that. And then you have, usually there's the champagne, and another interesting tradition is the raisin. So we eat a raisin for each sound of the clock at midnight. So 12 raisins that you eat as the clock sounds, and then you drink the champagne, and then you have to start the year with your right foot. So that's how it usually goes here. There's usually fireworks pretty much everywhere. Lots of hotels and restaurants do New Year's packs, and they usually get sold out like a month before. So if you want to do a hotel thing or a restaurant thing on the New Year, you should probably start booking now. When it comes to weather, once again, if you want to see snow, you need to go to Serra da Estrela, and even there, it's not every year. So you get, here in Portugal, it really rarely gets below 5 degrees. It's the only place you see snow is Serra da Estrela, and it's not all the time, although in this time it's usually there. My content manager put here the meanings of the colors of the wonderwear. So, red for love and passion. Oh, that's why my mother wants me to get married, apparently. Yellow for good fortune and prosperity. Blue for good health. White for peace and happiness. And black brings bad luck. So, I guess I have a lot of bad luck. But sorry, I'm talking too much and my throat is not 100% yet. So let me see if I missed anything interesting here. Yes, the Christmas event dinners and New Year dinners are usually quite expensive. Usually the minimum price is like 50 euros per person, and it goes up to like 300, 400, 500, pretty much as you want to pay. Fireworks are the most known are in Funchal and Madeira, so actually the New Year is very big there in the islands, and hotels usually get fully booked very fast. It's something that you usually have to book from one year to the next, and it's a very big thing there. And yes, pretty much another thing is that people usually go out around midnight. Most cities have concerts and parties happening on the New Year's Eve, and then you can watch the firework and lots of people and lots of drinking, and lots of young people drinking and old people drinking, and everyone drinks. And then on the 1st of January, things are usually still pretty much closed, and it's back to business on the 2nd. We are also going to be closed from the 23rd to the 1st of January, and only back to work on the 2nd. So we are going to put warning on our email and website and everything, but this is pretty much how it usually goes here in Portugal. If you do have any questions or remarks that you want to make it, I had no comments today, I guess also because I didn't make the live last week because I was really sick. As you can see, I'm not 100% yet, but I hope that you enjoyed the information about the Christmas and New Year traditions. I would love to hear what your traditions in your homeland are and if there are any quirky, interesting things that happen. And I don't know what I'll be talking about next week yet. If you do have any questions regarding this topic to me today, I would be happy to answer. I think this is more or less it for today. It's a bit of a calmer life, and I'll see you all next week. Bye now.